Imagine you are sitting in your living room on a quiet Tuesday morning. You have your chai. You're looking at photos of your parents back home. Then your phone buzzes. Email from your family's lawyer overseas. Your father, a man who ran a small shop in Mumbai his whole life or worked a farm in Jalisco, has passed away. He left you the apartment where you grew up. 2 bedrooms, nothing fancy, worth around $105,000. Through the grief, there is this moment of warmth, like he's still looking out for you. You close the email. You don't call anyone. You don't report anything. Why would you? It's family money. He was your father. You've been a lawful permanent resident for 12 years. You've never had a single problem. Here's what you don't know yet. While you were reading that email, a financial flag got generated in a federal database you've never heard of. 6 months later, USCIS office, N400 interview. You've studied. You know the civics answer's cold. You're ready. The officer pauses, looks at his screen, looks back at you. According to our records, you received a foreign asset worth over $100,000 last year. Why didn't you report it to the IRS? Your stomach drops. That apartment your father left you, that private family inheritance, has just triggered a federal investigation, and it could cost you your citizenship application, maybe your green card. Welcome back to Lawful Immigrant Shield. I'm Tom Lamas. Today, I'm covering what I call the foreign inheritance trap, a $100,000 reporting rule that is quietly taking down the naturalization cases of people who did everything else right. Immigration lawyers charge $500 an hour for this conversation. We're having it here. We're going to get into IRS Form 3520, why the government's new AI systems can already see your foreign inheritance before you say a word, and I'll walk you through a 5-step protection plan I call the Silent Shield strategy. If you have a green card or family assets abroad, stay with me through this whole video. In 2026, not knowing this stuff is a real risk. First, what changed? In 2025, the government passed the One Big Beautiful Bill. $170 billion for immigration enforcement. Part of that money went to something called the USCIS Vetting Center and a program called Operation Paris. Starting January 2026, that vetting center is running AI that cross-references your immigration file against global banking records. Your savings account in Lahore, family money in Lagos, property in Mexico City. None of it is invisible. There's a law called FATCA, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, and over 100 countries are legally required to report financial activity of U.S. persons to the IRS. A property title change, a large wire transfer, the IRS gets flagged, and now there's a data sharing agreement between Treasury and Homeland Security. That financial data goes straight into your USCIS file. Here is what most immigrants don't know. And honestly, why would they? You pay taxes on income earned in the U.S. That's obvious. But a gift from your mother? An inheritance from your father? Most people assume that's private. It's not. The law is clear. If you receive a gift or inheritance from someone overseas totaling more than $100,000 in 1 year, you have to file IRS Form 3520. Not because you owe money. You usually don't owe $1 on the inheritance itself. Form 3520 is just a reporting form. You're telling the IRS, this happened. But if you skip it, the penalty is 25% of the gift. On $100,000, that's a $25,000 fine for a form most people have never seen. For most people, that fine is the scary part. For immigrants, there's something worse. When you apply for citizenship on Form N400, the officer looks at your last 5 years and evaluates what's called good moral character. Under oath, they ask whether you've ever failed to file a required tax or financial report. If you didn't know about Form 3520 and you say no, you just lied to a federal officer. Under oath. That's perjury. And now the officer has grounds to deny your citizenship and send your case to the DOJ. We're not talking about a fine anymore. We're talking about removal. Let me tell you about Mrs. Chen. She's 64, 15 years on her green card. Her parents passed and left her a savings account, about $110,000. She never moved that money. Kept it in Taiwan so her nieces could use it for school. It never crossed her mind that money sitting in another country was anyone's business in the U.S. At her citizenship interview in March 2026, The officer had a printout from the Taiwan Ministry of Finance sitting on the desk. He asked why she hadn't reported the inheritance. She tried to explain. It was a gift. It was never in America. It wasn't income. The officer wasn't interested in her explanation of what the money was. He was looking at what she failed to file. Application denied. Willful failure to comply with federal reporting requirements. At 64, instead of taking the oath she'd waited 15 years for, she's spending $12,000 in legal fees fighting to keep her green card from being revoked under the Operation Paris re-vetting program. That's where we are in 2026. A financial gap in your record, and the assumption is you're hiding something. Now, how do you protect yourself? Step 1. Add up everything. The $100,000 threshold is a combined total, not per person. Your brother sends $20,000, your mom sends $40. You inherit a property worth $50. Same year? That's $110,000. You've crossed the line, even though no single transfer was over the limit. Look at your family transfers from the last 3 years. If you crossed that number and didn't file, act now, before they find it first. Step 2. Get the paperwork. When you receive a large gift or inheritance, you need documentation. A signed letter from the person who gave it, or the will, that says plainly, this was a gift, not payment for anything. Because if a USCIS officer ever asks about a wire transfer from overseas, you do not want them wondering if you were doing unauthorized work abroad. You want to hand them paper that shows exactly what it was and where it came from. Keep it with your tax returns. Step 3. April 15th. Form 3520 is due the same day as your tax return, April 15th. It doesn't go inside TurboTax. It gets mailed to the IRS separately. That's why so many people miss it. In 2026, send it certified mail with a return receipt. Because when the officer at your interview says he doesn't see a report, you don't argue. You pull out that receipt with the date on it. End of conversation. Step 4. If you're already late, don't hide. If you just realized you got $100,000 a few years ago and filed nothing, take a breath. The IRS has a program called the Streamlined Filing Compliance Procedure. It's for people who missed this because they genuinely didn't know, not because they were intentionally hiding money. Come forward before the IRS or USCIS contacts you, and the penalties can drop to almost nothing. But once they reach out first, that window closes. Call a tax professional who handles international cases this week, not in a month. Step 5. If you're already in the interview, if an officer brings up a foreign asset and you know you made a mistake, do not lie. Lying is the one thing you cannot recover from. Instead, say this exactly. I have made a good faith effort to comply with all known tax and reporting obligations. If there is an administrative filing error, it was entirely unintentional and does not reflect a lack of good moral character or an intent to deceive the government. That puts the issue in the category of clerical error. It gives your attorney somewhere to work from. We are living through the biggest expansion of immigration financial surveillance in American history. The money is funded, the AI is running, and over 100 countries are feeding data into the system. But this knowledge matters. That's the whole point of this channel. Your father's apartment, your grandmother's savings, your family's work across generations. That should not be something you're afraid of. You didn't work 12 years on a green card to lose it to a form nobody mentioned. 3 things before you go. Send this to your WhatsApp groups right now. There is almost certainly someone in your community who just received an inheritance and has no idea this form exists. You could keep them out of serious trouble. Subscribe and turn on notifications. The rules are shifting constantly in 2026. I follow the IRS notices and USCIS policy updates, so you have the information before it becomes a problem. And join the WhatsApp alert channel. Link is in the description. I send alerts when thresholds change or court rulings come down, so you're not finding out at your interview. Next video, 5 things to delete from your phone before landing at a US airport. including a new zero-click spyware rule that lets ICE read encrypted messages without you ever opening an app. Protect your legacy, protect your family, protect your status. I'm Tom Lamas. See you in the next one.